We're going to continue along with our 2025 OHL season preview series where we're taking a look at all 20 teams ahead of the 25-26 regular season. We're doing this in no particular order, and today we land on the Windsor Spitfires, who went from bottom of the league standings to nearly the top in just one season. What a turnaround it was for the Windsor Spitfires. Of course, Greg Walters coming in as head coach in the 24-25 season and really getting this team to buy into the systems, also getting some key players and young talent paying off quite early, even with the likes of Ethan Belchitz. Even though he missed significant time due to injury, especially during the playoffs, boy, oh boy, when he was on the ice, he made his presence known. So for this Windsor Spitfires team, it's been up and down for the last 3 years. When you look back at the 2022-23 campaign, they finished at the top of the Western Conference standings, a record of 44-18-4-2, 94 points. However, in the playoffs, they were swept in the first round by the 8th-seeded Kitchener Rangers. So it did not go as planned, and then the disappointment carried over into the 23-24 campaign. 18-42-5-3, 44 points, and they would miss the playoffs, although they would win the OHL draft lottery and select Ethan Belchitz. And Belchitz really fitting in nicely with this Windsor Spitfires team, who would then come back with a record of 45-17-4-2, 96 points. They would win the West Division, advance to the second round of the playoffs, and eliminated again by the Kitchener Rangers, this time in 7 games. And remember, Windsor had a 3-0 series lead in the series before the Rangers came back to win it. So for this season, I think it all comes down to the Spitfires just need to avoid playing Kitchener in the playoffs, or at least in recent history, that seems to be the case. Now, looking at last year's stats, the goals for really stands out. 4.54 goals per game, which is outstanding. I know Ilya Protas was a big factor in that. The goals against dropping to 3.27 goals against per game, because the goals against was a huge problem in the 23-24 campaign. They just had a hard time keeping pucks out of the net, but really shutting things down defensively, the systems in place. And the Windsor Spitfires doing a fantastic job defensively last year. When you look at the specialty teams, they had the 5th best power play unit operating at 24%, while their penalty kill 80.1%, which was 7th best in the OHL. Top 5 scorers, I alluded to it. Ilya Protas, a big factor last season. 50 goals, 74 assists, 124 points. If he does not return to the Spitfires this upcoming season, that may be a significant hole to fill, although I feel as though they have up-and-coming talent that should be able to contribute offensively. But still, if they can get Protas back next year, if the Capitals send him back, that'd be a huge boost for this lineup, which I think is only looking to improve further. Second in scoring last year, Liam Greentree, 49 goals, 70 assists, 119 points. Noah Morneau, he was third in scoring for Windsor, 32 goals, 41 assists, 73 points. Ryan Abraham, 4th in scoring, 29 goals, 37 assists, 66 points. And then Jack Nesbitt he finished 5th in scoring, 25 goals, 39 assists for 64 points. When you look at the goaltending, Joey Costanzo was really an MVP for the first half of the season. I know his numbers kind of tailed off in the second half a little bit, but still, 34-10-3-1 was his record, and 892 save percentage. What a turnaround it was for Costanzo after the year prior. And then you have Carter Froget, 8-7-1-1 was his record, 879 save percentage. And then Michael Newlove, he appeared in just 3 games, a 2-0 record, 904 save percentage though, so not too bad there for Newlove. And then Jake Winbiel appeared in 1 game, a 1-0 record, and an 842 save percentage. When you look at who they've added or traded away during the offseason, there's nothing to show for it. The Windsor Spitfires have been quiet when it comes to the trade front so far. And from the sounds of things, Bill Bowler, the general manager, keying in on a couple of key pieces, looking to the Oshawa Generals, as there's been rumblings that Beckett Seneca and Ben Danford may be available from Oshawa. So keep an eye on the Windsor Spitfires. If they're going to make a move leading up to training camp, it may be a splash, similar to what we saw last year. It was about a year ago where we saw Carson Rakoff traded from Kitchener to Brampton. And then we also had the Tristan Bertucci trade where he ended up with the Barrie Colts. And then it was the Colby Barlow watch. And eventually he was traded from Owen Sound to Oshawa. And there were so many trades at the start of last season. And I feel as though the Windsor Spitfires um, trying to make a splash here as we enter the 25-26 regular season. They have had some key signings, however. They've signed their first round selection, Johnny McLaughlin. They've also signed second round selection, Ian Inskip. Third round selection, Andrew Robinson, also picking up Caden Harvey. And they've also signed their import, Buxeltan Makish. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. I don't have a pronunciation guide in front of me, but still a lot of excitement around Makish with what he could bring offensively to this Windsor Spitfires team next season. When looking at the draft cupboard, this is where it's going to be interesting because I would assume Windsor is going to be a buyer. If not at the beginning of the season, then look at them at the OHL trade deadline in January. For 2026, they have a second, a third, and 2 fourth-round picks. In 2027, they have 2 second-round selections and a fourth. And then in 2028, a second and 2 thirds. So they have some draft capital here that they could use for trade. Also some roster players potentially if they want to move them. A team like Oshawa, if they're going to make a trade, sending away a Ben Danford or a Beckett Seneca, they're going to want draft picks and bodies back, especially younger talent. So it's going to be very curious to see what the Windsor Spitfires here do, because with the lineup already set, they already look like a contender in the Western Conference. So I don't think they're going to stand pat, but if they did, I think they're still going to be a team that would finish top 3 in the Western Conference. I feel as though they will win back-to-back West Division championships this year, although when you look at teams like the Sarnia Sting, they're going to be better. The Sioux Greyhounds are going to be better. There's still question marks with Saginaw. So I don't know if Windsor's going to run away with the division per se, but I'm kind of leaning towards Windsor probably ending up in the top 3 at the end of the regular season, even with the way the roster is right now. If they do add a significant player to the offensive side of things or on the back end, that's just going to cement Windsor as being one of the top contenders overall for the 25-26 season. Now looking at the channel votes, and the Spitfires heavily favored, 69% voting and saying that, yes, the Windsor Spitfires will be one of the top 3 teams in the Western Conference at the end of the season. 22%, they say Windsor will likely finish between 4th and 6th. And then 9% saying the Spitfires will end up the bottom of the conference. These might be fans of other teams, maybe that are saying that they'll end up at the bottom of the division, but still, majority saying top 3. I'm agreeing with that. Windsor is going to be one of those forces in the Ontario Hockey League this upcoming season. And just to see Ethan Belchitz and his development and that big frame of his, what is he going to be able to do? Can he be that number 1 center for the Windsor Spitfires this season? And like I said, if Protas comes back, you got Liam Greentree, Nesbitt, this team, they're ready to roll. And it's going to be fascinating just to see how it all pans out, because there's several teams in the Western Conference that are going to be much improved over what we saw last year. And it's going to be fun. Cannot wait to get the season underway. And let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on the Spitfires going into this upcoming season. Are you someone that thinks they'll win the West Division? And do you think they could win the Western Conference, depending on the moves they make during the regular season? Love the interaction. Thank you very much for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't clicked subscribe already. And we'll talk to you again soon.